The cloud. All right. Welcome to the fourth book of the Torah. We are in Bamidbar. Okay. What do they call that in English? In Hebrew, it means deserts, right? I don't know who came up with these names. In Hebrew, in English, they call it numbers. Okay. I don't know how the word Bamidbar, which literally means wilderness or desert, they call it numbers. I'll tell you why they call it numbers. But then you have to ask yourself, why in Hebrew do they call it a different name? But I don't know who did this biblical business, but Anglo-biblical language. But it's called numbers because the book of Bamidbar actually starts off with, once again, the Jewish nation being counted. We are counted many times in the Torah. In general, we are counted either because there's something amazing that's about to happen, or because there was a tragedy that took place. The idea being when something special happens, when something is special and dear to you, so you count it, right? You count out. I can't tell you how many times I watch my kids count something. I'm like, don't you know how many there are? Like, yeah, I have to make sure they're still there. I'm like, okay, all right, fine, right? So it's different. Jason counts cards, but whatever. Most other people.
Don't put that on the recording. Are you kidding? Jeez.
How many? You've only been to the place, what, 3 times? You've lived there how many years? You've only been there 3 times.
Where? The Strip?
Yeah.
3 times this week. No. I don't gamble. I do not gamble. I do not gamble often. I'll say that. Maybe once a year.
Oh, that's not bad. So okay, but in the Torah, when we count something that's very precious to us. So over here, you have Hashem is telling Moshe, I need you to count the Jewish people. Why? Because we, the Jewish people, really every human being, but especially the Jewish people, especially at this point in the relationship with God, we are extremely special and important. And every one of us is very important. So that's why we do another counting over here. Okay. So what does the Torah portion mostly talk about? It's actually lists of a lot of names. It goes over the head of each tribe, and then it goes through actually counting every single tribe. And then it does something which is really, really important, and which is what I want to focus on. It goes out and it makes a statement. If someone reminds me next time when I send the email out for the class, respond to it, be like, hey, Noach, don't forget to bring your chumash this time. But of course, we have phones and we have computers that have them. So the verse is like this. This is chapter 2, verse 32. That's Beis Lamed Beis. And it says, after it lists off, it goes and it lists off each of the tribes. It tells you the position where they were encamped. Every tribe was in a special space. Every tribe had its own special, unique flag for its tribe. So we know that there was the breastplate that the Kohen wore, right? That the high priest wore. He had the breastplate. And on there were 12 stones. Each stone was a unique color. That color matched up with each tribe's flag. And then each tribe, you've probably seen this in synagogues or temples, right? Each tribe had some sort of animal or some sort of unique personality that was special to each tribe. So the tribe of Binyamin, let's say, had a wolf that was unique to them. There was an aspect of the personality or the characteristics of a wolf that applied to those who were from the tribe of Binyamin. The tribe of Yehuda was a lion. The tribe of Yisachar was a donkey. Donkey is known for having the ability to carry, right, the heavy loads. So the Yisachar carried the heavy yoke of Torah. They were the tribes that were a lot of the teachers. They did a lot of the studying of Torah and sharing it with the Jewish nation. The tribe of Dan was a snake because they were the judges, actually. There was you can't trick a snake, right? So there was something about the snake. So each tribe had its unique characteristics and its unique personality. That's how they were encamped. And it also was a special way in which they traveled. Which tribe came first, and then second, and then third, all the way through. There were 6 in the front. There were 4 in the front, 4, and then there were 3 in the front, 3 on each side, and then 3 in the back. You have to figure out the tribe of Levi and the Kohanim, how they fit into there. Fine, but you can look at the verses to get the exact deals. But this is how they were encamped and how they traveled. In fact, so much so, this was such an important factor that when Jacob passed away in Egypt, and he told Yosef, and he told Yosef to speak to Pharaoh that I need to be buried in the land of Israel. I need to go to the cave of the matriarchs and the patriarchs in Hebron. I cannot be buried here. I need to be taken out. So when they actually carried Yaakov's coffin from Egypt to Hebron, the way they carried it was actually based off of the way their future generations were going to encamp and were going to travel throughout the wilderness. Okay, now what's so important? What was at the center of all this? So the verse over there says, they shall encamp around the tent of meeting. The tent of meeting was the center of everything. Okay, the tent of meeting was part of the tabernacle, part of the Mishkan, which we would call, in regular terms, we call it the Beis HaMikdash. It was the traveling Beis HaMikdash. It was the Beis HaMikdash on the go, and they traveled around there. And what do we see from there? What was this concept that what was at the center of everything? What's the center of the tabernacle? Is the Holy Ark. Inside the Holy Ark, we have the tablets, right? We have the tablets inside there, right? The Decalogue, whatever you like to call it. That is what the world centers around. Everyone was encamped around that. And that needs to be at the center of our lives. But it's not enough just to have that at the center of our lives. The things that are around it need to be in the right spaces. Each tribe had its unique energy that it brought to the group. It brought to the people. We've asked this question before. We've discussed this for sure in the past. You would think that once we got the Torah at Mount Sinai, we would have become one nation. Yet the Torah still talks about us in this fashion: 12 tribes. Why do we keep up this 12 tribe thing? Let's have us all be together as one. Why do we build in this separation? Let's not be 12 tribes anymore. Let's be one nation under God, right? Why do we hold on to this identity of the 12? The reason we do that is because we each have a unique role, and each have unique pieces of the puzzle that we bring to the table so that we can become the best version of the Jewish people and help the world become the best version of itself. That's our job. And if we're not doing our role, we're not doing our part of it, then it doesn't work. I'm sure we've seen him. Obviously, lots of sports fans here, right? Pick your sport. Okay, we can all reflect back. Hockey. Let's reflect back on some basketball playoffs over here. No, I'm sure. Right? Pick your sport. Right? What do they do every single Monday morning? What happens? Football. Switch to football over here. Right? What happens after every game of the playoffs? What do they do the next day, or perhaps even on the plane back or on the bus back? You need to watch the film. What went wrong? Who stepped out of position? Hold your position. We need you to be in that spot. Do not. It's like I was playing basketball with some of the students here, and we were talking. I was introducing, some of them knew about the concept, some didn't know about the concept, that sometimes if someone has a pick, right, do you go through the pick or do you stick with the man? So I told the person I was with, I said, we're going to roll through the pick, which means that even if he picks me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep up with my man, as opposed to, switching to the guy that picked me. And this kid kept messing it up. I was like, no, My plan is if someone blocks me, I'm going to go through the pick. I'm going to continue taking my player. You keep switching to my player, and therefore they keep scoring with the easy pass, right? So this is that we need to be in our space. It doesn't mean that there isn't interaction and helping each other in our own in our own roles, or what perhaps within each department there are those that are better at this or better at that have more of a leaning toward this and more of a leaning toward that. But we each have our space, and if each of us are striving, like we've said this a million times, right? The Ramchal, Ramosha Chaim Lutzato, right, the author of the Mesil Shisharim and many other books, he says one of the things that the world likes to talk about is Tikkun Olam. Tikkun Olam, fixing the world, right? It's an important Jewish concept. But it's very important to know Tikkun Olam. But if you look at what we say every single day on the Aleinu prayer, right? Aleinu l'shabeach ladonako, right? If you look at the end of that prayer, it says these words, Letakein Olam, in what fashion? B'malchut shakai. We fix the world through the means of Hashem, our King. The fixing that we're going to do for the world needs to be through that avenue. Not just what we're feeling, right? How do we know how to fix the world? What the world's actually supposed to look like? Well, we turn to the Torah. The Torah is in the center of our lives. We turn to the Torah to help us understand how to deal with whatever the situation is that comes up. The Torah has something to say, something to share, something to inspire for every single situation. And when we say Tikkun Olam, the way we take it into the micro is if every person were to focus at least some of their energy, if not most of their energy, on fixing their world, meaning themselves. If each of us was focused on trying to become and work on being the best version of ourselves, our world would look tremendous because everybody would be where they need to be or as close to it as possible. Because when I work on myself, it's also about how I deal with others. I work on my level of patience. I work on the way that I react to a tough situation. I work on my level of anger. I work on my tranquility. I work on my mindfulness, whatever it might be that I need to focus on. But if we're working on our own world, that automatically is going to rectify and help to bring to fruition the world getting to a better place. So if we work on our individual selves, which automatically has some impact on the larger self, that will change the world. So when we're working on, I'm from the tribe of, most of us are probably from the tribe of Yehuda, unless Larry is not. Larry is most probably from the tribe of the Levite Kohen tribe, right? He's got his Star Trek up, all right, Trekkie over here, right? So, so Larry is a Kohen, right? Nobody else. So any Levites over here? No, we're all the rest of us are Israelites. All right, fine. Okay, fine. Right. So if we each of us focus, if we focus on what our energies are. I was just talking to a student this week who was feeling a little bit down. So I said to them, I said, do you know that you could change like the attitude of your entire class if you were to just shift the way you think, the way that you think about yourself? You've got so many talents, so many skills, and people are looking at you to see how you're dealing with the unique situation or the different situation. You could walk in there. You know, it's amazing. One of my kids, most of my kids probably could do this. Particular one kid, one of my kids. I don't want to embarrass him, so I won't say which one it is. But they have the ability, literally have the ability to shift the attitude of the entire middle school that they're in. I gave away a little bit of who he is, right? So his personality is that. What comes with that is the responsibility to recognize what power he has and to use it in an appropriate fashion. Can swing the entire mood. We tell this to our older children when we go on family trips, that they're not super excited to go on necessarily, or they really enjoy it once they're in it. They enjoy it. But the attitude that they give beforehand will set the stage for the rest of the family. So if my eldest, who's so good at this, goes in with this positive woo-hoo attitude, that's it. Everyone's going to follow. And she knows that's her role. And she knows that she could do that. And sometimes she'll tell me, I cannot do that right now. I'm not in that space. And of course, it's my job to decide whether she's just in a space, right? Or she really is just not there right now. Or whether I should push her a little bit. Come on, let's go. We can do this together. We'll do it. Right? We'll change the attitude. Let's be silly. Let's get everyone's attitude changed. So that's about knowing who you are, knowing your strengths, and following through with it. And the way that we make sure that we're doing it the right way, or at least that we're working our way towards that, is by focusing on what's the center in our lives. Center in our lives is God. Center in our lives is Torah, is Judaism, is goodness, is giving, is love, is care, concern for others. All of the attributes of Judaism and the mitzvahs that connect us with that, or help us to bring those energies out into the world. And that's what this verse is telling us. We tell you who encamps where. We tell you about the flag that each tribe has. We tell you the position of everybody. And we end off that chapter telling us that all surrounds the Mishkan in the middle. That's where the energy stems from. That's what needs to be in the focus or in the center of everything that we do, central to everything that we do. And that's what the Torah is telling us over here. Not just giving us a geographic understanding of, they were on the outside and the Mishkan was in the middle. It's telling us specifically it's in the middle, not just geographically. We're going to figure that out ourselves. It says it specifically so that we can understand for ourselves. Turn to that Torah. Further guidance. Turn to our rabbis and to our teachers, to our synagogues or temples, whatever it might be. Take out our Torah books, listen to some Torah classes, right? These kinds of things that we can do to go ahead and work on ourselves, which means it's going to impact others, and it's just going to continue to flow out from there. And that's what the Torah is telling us over here. That's how this book starts off. The Jewish nation being in the wilderness and the energy they were beginning to bring into the world, because this is how they encamped and because this is how they traveled with the Mishkan, with God's presence amongst them in the center of everything that they did. So may we be blessed, God willing, that we should find ways to bring as much of Hashem into our lives. Make sure we leave that space for Hashem in there. Even when we're so sure about something, we're so sure we know what to do, don't forget to ask ourselves, is that what Hashem would want us to do? It's another layer. Because sometimes we'll feel something up here, sometimes we'll feel it over here. There's a big gap between the two. Got to fill in that space with a little godliness. And that could give us a little more clarity as we make some big decisions, or even the small decisions, as we travel through life. So God willing, we should merit to do that. Leave some space for Hashem in our world. Bring Hashem into our lives. And when we do that, our world will be better. The rest of the world will be better. And God willing, we'll be able to see everything come back to having the world where it surrounds and revolves around the Beis HaMikdash on Temple Mount, speedily in our days.
Hey, Rabbi, I've got a question for you. So you started off by talking about.
Press pause.
No, it doesn't matter. No, it's fine.
Sure,
No, we'll just keep rolling. You started out by talking about counting and numbers and the significance of numbers, and of course we're counting the Omer. We have been the 49 days, and there's a bit of sadness, during this count, and so. On one hand, I would imagine there's some elation too, right? I mean, you just had the Exodus, right? So, I mean, so there's some joy there as well. But but I'm thinking about the 24,000 students. The Rabbi Akiva's 24,000 students, and I know I wasn't with you the past couple of weeks, but was Rabbi Akiva? Did he suffer the same fate as his students? Because it kind of there's a bit of the story that kind of gets left off, or at least from what I've learned.
So what happened? Obviously, he had the anguish, the pain, and the anguish of that happening to his students. And I'm sure he felt some level of responsibility. Of felt perhaps there was something he feels he could have given over a little differently. Perhaps that's discussed a little bit. But mostly, what's focused on with Rabbi Akiva was actually his attitude of picking up the pieces and starting again right away. He didn't stay in that space where most people would have become depressed and distressed and felt like, oh my goodness, see what I did. It's my fault. Look what I did to the world. He went ahead and had the attitude of, okay, this didn't work. Clearly didn't work. And I need to come up with the next set of students to start over again. And that's what he did. He chose 5 students who are from the main rabbis that we would know from the Gemara and the Talmud, from the Mishnah and the Talmud. So those 5 rabbis, one of which was Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who we celebrate on Lag BaOmer. So that would be what he did. So that was his turnaround. The way Rabbi Akiva did pass on is, we do talk about that in the Yom Kippur davening. We mentioned how there were the famous 10 martyrs, 10 leaders of the Jewish people that were killed at the hands of the Romans. So Rabbi Akiva did pass away, and not in such a exciting fashion. But he did not pass away from the same disease that the students passed from. Yeah, but you're right. There's a balance. It sounds like most of Judaism. Judaism, at least within the world of diaspora and exile, we're always having a balance of there's always something that took place that was not exciting, but it's also within this space of the amazing things that we do have on our calendar, right? So amongst that, you're right. We left Egypt. That's really exciting, and we're in this great space. But then we have to work on ourselves to get ourselves to, the holiday of Shavuos, right? Where we'll have the next celebration of receiving the Torah. But guess what happens shortly after that? Then we have the golden calf, right? So this is what we do, us Kvetchy Jews, right? This is our routine. We're constantly going through these types of opportunities for tremendous growth, for tremendous change to impact ourselves and the world. And it's a question of, are we going to pass or fail that? And what do we do when we fail? Or what do we do when we pass? Do we keep on growing higher and higher and higher and build upon that in a positive fashion? Or do we, God forbid, come complacent or lose ourselves and then fail? Which is certainly, Rabbi Akiva shows us what to do in the face of horror. Aaron, high priest, right? He's getting ready to celebrate the first real day of the tabernacle, and his 2 sons die because they overstepped the boundary, which we talked about that a number of portions back. We've talked about it in person also. So that's on this great day of celebration, right? Here we have, right? It's the first day of the full-blown service by Aaron and by the high priest in the Mishkan. They're going to do it the way it's supposed to be done. And there's an opportunity for tremendous growth, tremendous connection. And Aaron's boys made an error. And therefore, they had the facts of what they did. They got struck down. They weren't in that space of spirituality. They couldn't handle that level of spirituality, at least in that way. And then, boom, they passed on. But what does Aaron do? He has a bigger responsibility. So he goes ahead and he's quiet, takes a deep breath, does the service. Yes, he does go and mourn his children. But right in that moment where he has a bigger responsibility is a great thing for the world of leadership to learn lots of lessons from the way Aaron responded. And the way Rabbi Akiva respond is not to go into this dark space of depression and to be stuck in that space. It's rather to reflect and respond. Reflect on it, do some introspection, and now how am I going to do better and different this time? And that would be the Jewish response to something. As we've discussed many times in the past, when tragedy happens to the Jewish people, or to the world, really, not just the Jewish people, tragedy strikes in the world, what's our reaction? What's the Jewish reaction? The Torah reaction is not about pointing fingers. It's like Israel said, yes, we need to figure out why this happened so we don't allow it to happen again. But right now, we need to deal with the situation. So what's our response as the Jewish people when tragedy happens in the world? We take some level of responsibility. We say, I'm not doing my job as good as I can do. If I was doing my job in the spiritual world and the physical world to the best of my abilities, until I'm doing that, then I have some level of responsibility when something horrible happens in the world. That's the Jewish response. When there's a natural disaster that takes place hundreds of thousands of miles from us, I don't just say, oh, that happened over there. No, that is not a Jewish reaction. That is not a Torah reaction. What could I do better to make sure that the only things I am giving to this world are positive spiritual and physical energies? I need to pray a little harder. I need to study a little harder. I need to be more kind and more concerned and more sensitive to other people. I need to make sure that I'm doing and becoming the best person that I can be. Otherwise, there is a certain aspect of responsibility on my shoulders for the fact that something horrible takes place. I know it's overwhelming. It's daunting. I'm trying to speak to the power that we have. How powerful each and every single person in the world is. Yes, something happens very far away from us. It doesn't matter. The whole world is one big family. The things we do make a difference. If you litter over here, littered over here. What's that have to do? Well, guess what? When you litter that over there, that, we could talk about it from a science standpoint even, right? Everything that we do, it could shift the whole world. And that's a Jewish, that would be a Torah response. So Rabbi Akiva picks up the pieces right away. New students, let's go. Got to continue giving the Torah over to the world. And guess what? Those students really did. Those 5 students that he picked up are responsible for the Torah that we have in our world today. They're the ones that all stemmed through them. Rabbi Akiva gave it all to them, and they built upon Rabbi Akiva's Torah, and they gave it over to the world. And that's what we have all the way to today. You can follow it on the timeline, starting from those students all the way down to us studying Torah right here. A direct line of Torah study all the way through, all the way to us. And that we can find. We have timelines of it to figure it out. Rabbi, the student, their parent, to child, all the way to us. It's amazing. That's what it was. That's what it is. So that's that would be the response, the idea of Rabbi Akiva, what he did. But we mostly focus on the reaction of Rabbi Akiva. Amazing. Any other thoughts, questions, rebuttals on that?
I missed you guys. I needed some of this.
It's so good to see you, Larry.
It's great to see
Where are you
all
hanging
of
out?
you.
Why is it so bright over there?
I mean,